Science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howes.
And welcome to the broadcast on this January 28th, 2026. Joining me tonight, Garland Favorito and his wife. The FBI raided, I guess, the voting center there in Georgia. I guess they're looking at the ballots from 2020. So this is a big deal. And so I pre-recorded an interview this afternoon with Garland Favorito because I asked him, hey, can you go there? Could you go to that voting place, find out what's going on? So I asked Garland and his wife to go there. And so I pre-recorded a little interview with him on location there in Fulton County, Georgia, on the FBI raid to get the 2020 ballots. What does all that mean? Then I'm going to be joined by Patrick Wood. Patrick Wood is going to join us to talk about this. ICE admits to databasing Americans and creating social credit scores. We have a nice little database, and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. We're going to talk about that with Patrick Wood, along with many other issues related to, gold, the price of gold, where we're going, digitization, tokenization, and speaking of gold, going to historic levels, we're going to visit with Michael Weiner. President Trump says he wants to see the dollar continuing to go down because this encourages exports. We'll explain for those who maybe don't get that, what that means, but also inflation. And we'll talk about the new system that seems to be rolling, that a percentage of it at least will be backed by gold. And again, it seems as though the system is already ready to go. And we'll play a lot of clips for you tonight from Ray Dalio, clips from Warren Buffett. We have a lot of clips to play on our economic segment tonight that I think you'll find very educational, but also very interesting. I want to start out also tonight, first though, with Shahram Hadian. It broke this afternoon, brand new footage that has been put out by the News Moment, I think that's what the group is called, that has video footage from January 13th of Alex Pretty confronting ICE, kicking their car, kicking and damaging the taillight. He's confronted by them, wrestled to the ground. It appears as though he's got a gun in the back of his waistband but they don't end up arresting him. So this is all very interesting because it helps us understand that maybe ICE knew who he was. Now, I'm not saying that gives them the ultimate decision they made that led to his death, but this guy is a lot more than we have been led to believe based on this video and this encounter that broke this afternoon that you must see. I want to talk to Shahram Hadian about that because he is also a former police officer. So I want to get his thoughts on that. I can't believe they didn't arrest the guy. After you see the video footage, I think you'll feel the same way. By the way, when I talk to Patrick Wood, I want to play a video from Senator Rand Paul saying maybe a lot of these illegals here should be allowed to stay, never get citizenship, not the right to vote, but they should be able to stay. We also have video now in the last few hours on Fox Business of Newt Gingrich talking about the same thing. We need a national conversation about what to do with people who have come here, some of them 20 years. Who have been obeying the law, paying taxes, good neighbors. Few Americans want to see the police walk in and deport them. Here we go, folks. Like we've been saying for the longest time, thesis and antithesis, idea, opposite idea. They clash, and we go to a new thesis through the compromise of conflict, the Hegelian dialectic. Now, conservatives, even Sean Hannity, is coming out saying, well, we should rethink some of this. So is this all been about getting us as Americans to agree, well, maybe not all of them can go. Let's get digital IDs for them. Wait a minute. How about for everybody? Is there a banking collapse coming? The dollar collapse? Well, we'll let you keep the money in your bank account minus, say, 10, 20%. For a bail-in, they'll go to the bankers. So instead of a bail-out, we'll do a bail-in. You got $100,000 in the bank. Maybe we take 90,000. You keep 90,000, we take 10. Maybe we take 20,000, you keep 80. But you got to get a digital ID. first if you want that. I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas. How do you get people to go along? Well, one of them is through this conflict, and then you offer to rescue them. We're going to get into all that tonight. Does that sound like a good show to you? I think it is. WorldviewTube.com. Why don't you tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, True Social, tell everybody we're on. Now, just so you guys realize, down here in the South, in the Bible Belt, in Memphis, the Mid-South, as we call it, we are not, always crying wolf when it comes to the weather. A lot of times, yeah, it might snow, might have some flurries, and people freak out, and not one flurry's even happened. But with this last storm, we were talking about it, saying it looks like this could be a big deal. And indeed it has. So just so you guys realize, look at this video footage. Look at this. This was shot, I guess this is coming, this is right near Oxford, Mississippi, about an hour from us. Look at this. Look at that. I don't know if there's any audio with it or not. Here we go. Yeah. Look at this. Watch this. Here we go. Look out. It's an ice rink. An absolute ice rink. Just music, I guess. Okay, here we go. Watch what's about to happen here. Wait, that guy's going way too fast for the conditions. All right, there you go. And this is going on all over the place here, folks. We had folks that were on I-55 in northern Mississippi yesterday afternoon. We were told that a bunch of them, here's a picture from the that would be the Mississippi Department of Transportation. Look at that. That was I-55 last night in northern Mississippi. And I guess there were some wrecks and trucks and cars were caught in that. Now, semi-trucks can probably go for several hours unless they're close to empty. They could probably go for several hours. A lot of those semi-trucks also have generators on them, by the way. So they can keep their cabs pretty warm. And if they decide, hey, forget this, they just keep it on, keep the semi on, keep the generator on. They can climb into their bunk and go to bed if they had to. But if you're in a car and you run out of fuel, well, you're in trouble. And we were hearing yesterday afternoon that this was a real threat. And apparently some of these folks, they stayed the night because they could not get rescued. The National Guard went in trying to rescue some of them that were in Memphis with the crime that they were fighting. So they were in the area to help. But this has turned into a big deal, folks. And schools are shut down for the rest of the week. And we'll see where it goes. But the temperatures, they are cold. But and if you guys just type in Oxford, Mississippi, northern Mississippi, you guys will see a lot of traffic. It's a big problem. Take a look at this. These guys, they are gutsy people. This is, I think, the Tennessee Valley Authority trying to get the power back on. And I think as of tonight, they've gotten some serious power back up in northern Mississippi. But look at that. What a skilled pilot and that guy sitting there working on that, getting those big old transformers. Folks, these are the guys that make the country run. These are the guys that make the country run. God bless them. That's skill there. Let me ask you, you think AI is going to replace that? I don't think so, folks. I don't think so. But good job, guys. Thank you for all your hard work. That's what's going on in the Mid-South tonight. Okay, guys, look at this. Power outages. Here is a video that illustrates the evolution of power outages from peak out to 4 days into restoration. Around 400,000 customers remain out. And this is just related to the last few days because at the peak, it was over 1 million. So there you go. You might want to think seriously again. We're reading reports today that all the hotels in the Nashville area are full. All these people that have fled their homes because they have no power have gone to hotels that apparently do have power. So I read a report today. Hotels in Nashville full up with many families that have fled, and there's no reservations. They're full. By the time they end up spending the money on hotels, they probably could have bought themselves a nice solar generator and or LP generator. Why don't you consider that? Before the ice storm, before the blizzard, before the cyber attack, before the tornado, straight line winds, hurricane, depending on where you live in the country. Why don't you go to worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. She is selling a ton of these generators. I have one, the Delta Echo 400, charged it up with the outlet in the wall So it was ready to go in case the power went down. I have many backups, LP generator, but also the solar, also the gas. I got backups to backups to backups. But if it had to be used and I ran it down, we'd have to put the huge solar panel in the yard and let it charge that up that way. But folks, go ahead and get your solar generator at worldviewtalk.com. You also you can get your satellite phone, your bulletproof backpacks, so much more. Worldviewtalk.com or 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. And don't forget about all of our other sponsors, folks, over at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know them. Gatatana, that's the phytoplankton. Our Numi, that's got that Numi's got that the Numi has the glutathione in it that detoxes our cells. I want to talk tonight about our candy. The First Lady of Florida says there's arsenic and some of my favorite candy, like Tootsie Rolls. What? Well, that's one reason I use Numi to detox my cells, because I'm getting toxins I don't even know about, which, like when I eat a Tootsie Roll, which is now done. I'm not doing that anymore. You got to see, is it your favorite candies? And what is the amount of these candies you can eat for a child versus an adult? I want to get into that a little bit tonight, play that clip for you, because now I find out I'm eating some candy that's got arsenic in it. Are you kidding me? I'm sure there's a lot of things going on where I'm getting stuff I shouldn't be getting, even though I try to eat very healthy, which is why, of course, I do Numi, because I need to detox my cells from the toxins I'm getting, many of the things I don't even know I'm getting. And then my Bella Grace. Go check out all our sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Okay, guys? We got a lot to get to, so let's get going. But will you do me a favor? Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. We have a huge show for you tonight. Very educational, very informative, lots of great guests, stuff you're not going to hear probably anywhere else. But to keep it all going, I need your support. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Joining me now is Shahram Hadian. He's also a former police officer, so I thought I'd bring him on to look at this video tonight that's going absolutely viral of Alex Pretty. This was a week or so before he was killed. This was his interaction with the ICE agents, or with ICE agents there in the Twin Cities about a week before he was killed. Now, this video, if you haven't seen it, is very shocking. It just came out today by a group known as News Movement. I want you to watch it, and then we're going to have former police officer Shahram Hadian respond to this. Watch.
This is a moment the News Movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Pretty interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Pretty was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Pretty, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Pretty was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street. Shortly after the altercation we filmed here on January 13th, federal agents drove away. Soon after that, we left the scene.
Wow. I cannot believe they did not arrest him. Shahram joins us by phone. Shahram, I sent that to you this afternoon, asked you to watch it. How many times have you seen that?
I've watched it now 3 times, twice before, and I was watching it as you were playing it for the audience.
What are your thoughts as a former police officer? I can't believe they didn't arrest him.
Yeah, there's 2 major mistakes here that I believe were made by these federal agents. One is that he clearly threatened them and destroyed property, government property, a vehicle. That is obviously a crime. And when they took him to the ground, they should have arrested him for that. Why they didn't, you and I talked about this beforehand, Brandon. I can only speculate. This is obviously after the shooting of Renee Good, the woman who drove her vehicle towards an ICE agent. I suspect that maybe there's some tensions in the sense of not wanting to look and be aggressive by arresting him, which was a clear mistake. The second thing, and even more shocking actually, is the fact that when they had him on the ground, you can see clearly that when he comes back up, that he has a firearm tucked back behind his waist. For federal agents to stand there with an individual that has attacked their vehicle, Brandon, that has then wrestled with them and resisted arrest, because that's what he was doing. He resisted them as they were trying to detain him or perhaps arrest him. And because maybe they didn't want to get into it with the mob that was around, they let him go. He's armed. They know he is armed. What would have stopped him at any point, Brandon, as they disengaged him and they don't have a suspect that is now either handcuffed, detained, or that firearm was taken off of him when they had already gone physical with him? What would have stopped him from pulling that gun out and shooting them? Nothing would have stopped him from pulling that gun out from his behind his waist and shooting them. So there's 2 major mistakes here, but clearly this shows that they already knew him. By the time they encounter him the next time, whether it was the same agents, whether it was different agents when they encounter him during the shooting, they clearly would have known him, because that incident, Brandon, would have been written up by law enforcement and would have been in their briefing. They would have briefed. They would have had facial recognition of who he was. He was wearing the same outfit. He looked exactly the same the week before. So just from that perspective, that changes the entire dynamic of the engagement to where he was shot.
So you would think, because again, I don't know how angry they felt he might have been. I don't know what he was saying to them. I don't know what they said to him. But you would at least think that they would say, look, we're going to let you up. We're letting you up. We're not going to arrest you, but stand still. We need to disarm you as we leave. And that they would have taken the gun out and at least taken the clip out and cleared the chamber, and at least gotten everybody back in the car, and maybe one guy hands it back to him so that, they can drive off, leaving him with an open chamber and clip out. I don't even know if that's would have been, advisable to do, but no. I would have been afraid as a law enforcement guy to turn my back on him at that point.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. In that situation, they would have been under no obligation to turn his weapon back over to him. He just engaged in assault by assaulting that vehicle and threatening and spitting at officers.
So at the very least, they should have taken his weapon when they left.
Exactly. At the very least, if they're not going to arrest the individual, you don't let an armed individual that has just fought with you, that has just assaulted a vehicle and spit at an agent or spit at the vehicle all of that is an act of aggression. All of that is an act of assault or attempt to assault. And so he's damaged a vehicle clearly on video. Now you're wrestling this individual. Now this individual, clearly they would have seen his weapon there. For them to let him up, again, that's the greater failure. And I've been very, I've been overall very supportive of federal agents and ICE and what they've done. In this case, I would say these agents needed massive training. Either that, or again, there was already tension because this is after the shooting of Renee Good. This is after there's already so much scrutiny on ICE, particularly in Minneapolis. And could that have led to them making those kind of mistakes? That could have. Again, thank God nothing happened to the agents, but could have in that moment turned deadly. Because, again, you clearly see in the video, he's got time to stand up. He's got time to take his jacket off. He's got time to put his jacket back on. They're still getting in the car. And remember, some of these agents, what did they have in their car, in their hands? They had pepper spray in their hands. They had their pepper balls, what looks like a gun that shoots pepper balls. So they didn't have their weapons out. They had less lethal. We call that less lethal in law enforcement to somebody that has lethal in his waistband. It would have taken him all of about a second and a half to reach behind his waistband and shoot 4 or 5 officers before they could have responded. So that is a gross mistake in how they handled that situation. And I can only, again, surmise that when he engaged them a week later and comes up and puts him, remember, in the other video, he places himself between federal agents and a suspect that they were interrogating or about to arrest. He places himself in the middle of a active investigation, an active arrest potentially, and now is trying to stop law enforcement. So this encounter changes everything. This encounter means they knew him. They knew that he was already violent. They knew that he had already fought. So now that's going to heighten the situation when you're fighting. And of course, the situation was unfortunate because clearly the one agent, I'm talking about now the second week when he was shot, clearly the one agent had disarmed him. And you've probably seen the speculation that they think the firearm may have gone off.
Right.
And that gun is known for
misfiring,
those type of discharges. Mm-hmm. And that led to now gun. And listen, when you have 7 or 8 agents in a scrum with someone that's resisting, and one agent or one police officer says gun, you don't know where the gun is. You don't know, does he already have it in his hand? I mean, it's a melee, right? So unfortunate second shooting, but this changes the whole dynamic. This changes the entire dynamic of, this guy's a martyr. This guy, is just a nurse, is an ICU nurse. He didn't deserve to be murdered. All this kind of rhetoric. No, he's clearly on video attacking law enforcement, breaking their, damaging their vehicle, and he is armed, and he is shown to resist arrest, to fight, armed. That changes the whole dynamic. You've changed the whole ballpark.
Well, I wanted your analysis on that because, again, this is becoming very, divisive among a lot of people and friends and people that know each other. They're arguing about it, and many of us are saying to our friends who have been very, very distressed about this that we're distressed by it too. We don't want to see a guy shot and killed, but we're agreeing to disagree. We don't all have to agree on the same thing. So we're all trying to be gracious with each other, particularly those of us that work together regularly. But some of our close friends that we're all friends with, they're just livid by this. I mean, they're just livid. And I understand their position on this. But this video that's come out today, this afternoon, it's broke this afternoon. This does put everything into a totally different context. He seems as though he was absolutely known. They knew who he was. And I can't believe they didn't arrest him the first time. I wish maybe they had. Maybe he'd be alive now. I don't know. But let me switch conversations with you real quick here. President Trump put out today that a massive armada is heading to Iran. This is because he's former Iran. He is Iranian. He's from Iran. He was born in Iran. Shahram was. A massive armada is heading to Iran, says President Trump. It is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. It's a larger fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, then sent to Venezuela. Like with Venezuela, is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. Hopefully, Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons, one that is good for all parties. Time is running out. It is truly of the essence. As I told Iran once, make a deal. They didn't, and there was an Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack will be far worse. Don't make that happen again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then we have Ambassador Huckabee, as I reported on the Worldview Report tonight, saying it's time to take down the kitchen that keeps serving up the plates of poison. You think we're going to see a strike of Iran or not?
Well, here's my problem. And you were talking about earlier in regards to these shootings with ICE. And if I could just quickly comment on what you had said, if you don't mind, about the shootings with ICE. I try to be a level-headed person. We all get emotional, and I try to look at things objectively. I just want to be on the record as saying the Renee Good shooting, tragic. This shooting, tragic. You don't want anybody to die. But when people do stupid things against law enforcement, bad things happen. Nothing ever good comes out of it. You fight with police when you're armed, something bad's going to happen. You drive a car at law enforcement, something bad's going to happen. So let's not absolve their actions by simply blaming ICE. But in this case, I hope I've been fair, Brandon, that I'm saying those agents need to be retrained. Those agents, either the policy is wrong or their training. And let's not forget, the federal government had put an edict out last year. Remember, they had a shortage of ICE agents, so they've had to hire ICE agents very quickly and train them very quickly. I wonder if that's coming back to bite. So sorry about that. I just wanted to quickly mention that again, my heart goes out to the idea of lost lives. But going back to Iran, here's my problem. I don't read code. Everybody's telling me, and I posted on this comment from the president today, on Truth Social on my page. I don't read Trump code. People apparently are telling me there's a code that the president has where he says one thing and he means something different. I'm sorry. I don't read that. I don't know that code. Apparently I was not given that cheat sheet of what words mean. When he says to this regime, make a deal, we got this big armada coming, it's going to be bad. I get the threat. But we are now going on over 2 weeks of the president telling the Iranian people, help us on the way, go into the streets, take the institutions. And the numbers are staggering of deaths, of massacres. Again, I remind everybody, we don't know how bad it is because the information coming out right now from Iran is still old. These videos that are being uploaded are still old from January 8th, 9th, 10th, and so forth. Do I think there's going to be a strike? Oh, man. My gut is telling me no. My gut is telling me no. My gut is telling me that, and even if there is a strike, Brandon, do I think that strike is going to debilitate the regime, as was the intent of the June attack by Israel? Concentrated, daily, multiple waves, multiple levels, decimating the senior leadership of the IRGC, hitting command and control structures. Do I think that that's what America is going to do after waffling for 2 weeks? No. I wish that I felt differently. I wish that I was wrong. Listen, this is one area that I'm dead wrong. I hope not only does America hit Iran, but they hit them hard. They decimate this regime, and it allows the people to rise up. But maybe you can help me out. I don't know what that's code for. Am I too literal? Am I too literal to read someone's words who says, make a deal? You're making a deal with a murderous, demonic Islamic regime that, oh, by the way, can I remind people, in Islam, the permissibility of lying. The regime has lied and lied and lied and lied. They lied to the president when they said we've stopped the executions. They lie about deals. They lie about we don't want nuclear weapons. They lie because Islam lies. They're permitted to lie. So I'm at a loss for what deal is on the table.
All right, let me go to one before I run out of time. Let me go to something else. I played this on radio and TV today at 1 o'clock Central, but I got to play it here for this audience and get you to comment. Have you seen the video of Tucker Carlson in Saudi Arabia?
I actually was watching part of your live show today, your radio, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. So I'd love to hear that again.
Here's Tucker Carlson.
Okay.
And of course, this year, just a year later, it's like, yeah, of course, everyone's in Saudi. Like they're,
yeah.
And I'm glad to see that because it's reality based. I'm not here to promote the Saudi government. Of course, I'm American, but I think that Saudi Arabia is a fundamentally real country. It's an ancient country. It's the physical center of one of the largest religions in the world, and it is, of course, a force because of its resources and its diplomacy. So, like, I'm glad to see a real country get treated like a real country, like an actual country, not just a client of some other country. So it's good.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if people had some ideas about those things you've spoken about, the graciousness, the hospitality, the kindness, before they commented on it from afar? Because I think it's an experience which, once you've had, changes your perception.
I strongly agree with that. And I've taken a lot of abuse in my country for saying things like that out loud. I'm, for whatever it's worth, a pretty fervent Christian, and I feel completely comfortable here in the seat of Islam. Not because, right? I mean,
Wow, I'm completely comfortable here in the seat of Islam. He's a fervent Christian. I don't know what brand of Christianity he has, but it's not my brand. What do you make of this? Again, he just keeps saying things that just don't seem to correspond with reality or truth, but he keeps saying things.
I think that's a great way of describing it. This is not reality. It is delusion. All I can say is he's a deluded man. He's being played. Of course, they're going to have, quote, hospitality. We see this all throughout the Islamic world, where they will tell you to your face very nice things and hospitable things, and then behind the scenes, or in Arabic, in English they'll tell you one thing, in Arabic they'll tell you what they really mean. I think that this man is a fool. I think he fits the definition of a biblical fool. He's being played, and he's now a mouthpiece for the Qataris, for the Saudis. I would say this, Brandon, let's look at reality. Reality is that almost 89% of Christians around the world that are being persecuted, that are being tortured, arrested, or jailed, or murdered, are being murdered by the hands of Islam. That's reality. That's fact. When you look at groups like persecutedchristians.org or opendoors.com, they will show you the statistics that of the top 50 countries persecuting, killing Christians, on the top 10, 9 out of them are Islamic nations. So the reality is that where is there a growing church in Saudi Arabia? Where are the synagogues in Saudi Arabia? Can a Christian go to Mecca and enter the Kaaba? Not that I would want to do that, but can a Christian enter Mecca and go into, quote, their holiest place of worship and pray to Jesus Christ? The answer is no, because there's signs that are on the freeway before you get to the Kaaba, before you get to that part of Mecca, that say no, non-Muslims are not welcome and they're not allowed. So all I can say is this is delusion. This is a fool. This is a mouthpiece now of the Arab nations, that for him to say, I feel comfortable in the seat of Islam, how would he respond if he had a chance to sit down and talk with families of Christians who've been murdered in the seats of Islam, in Iran, in Pakistan, in Nigeria now, in Sudan, in Syria, places where Islam takes over and then tell me if Christians feel comfortable in those. Oh, you know how they're comfortable. Oh, yeah, if they're subjugated, if they become dhimmis and second-class citizens and pay an extortion tax called the jizya, oh, yeah, maybe then they're comfortable. Maybe if he goes to Qatar and buys his new apartment in Doha, he'll be comfortable as a dhimmi. But wait for him to assert Christianity and just see how uncomfortable this fool will become in the, quote, seat of Islam. It's unbelievable what a propaganda mouth he's become.
Shahram, TLministry.com, TILministry.com, and we carry his broadcast right here as well at Worldview Tube. Shahram, as always, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You too, my friend. And guys, we'll be right back. A lot left in the show. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
All right, guys, take a look at this headline over at the Wine Press. ICE admits to databasing Americans and creating social credit scores. We have a nice little database, and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. Subheadline, ICE is deploying a new tool called Elite, powered by Palantir, to track Americans and illegals using predictive models and scores to determine where someone might travel so ICE can make arrests. Now, I don't know if any of that's true or not. That's just the headlines. But I would venture to guess the technology is there to do it. Let's ask none other than Patrick Wood of technocracy.news about this. Patrick, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
You bet.
Do you believe that headline and subheadline?
I do. Yeah, it's totally plausible, and I expect it's true. Now, I haven't seen the press release, but you know they're sucking up all the data on Americans they can get their hands on, and every agency in the government is doing their part. We don't have separate databases anymore. We used to. There was all the various databases in Washington, D.C. were siloed. They weren't supposed to talk to each other, like your tax data should not be intermingled with your health data, for instance. But it is now because of Doge and all the Palantir effort to get everything together in one database. So yes, all the agencies in the government are contributing to the master file at this point, and it's an immense effort. When it will be used against us completely is anybody's guess, but you know it's going to come in the future at some point. It is.
Now, I don't know if did you see my interview the other day with your co-author, Catherine Turner?
I did.
She seems to think that what we're watching in Minneapolis is all part of data gathering. That this is being used to test and gather data and make predictions and whatnot. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
Well, certainly, you know, everywhere and when anybody gets together in a protest, especially, you know, all of their pictures are going to be taken. All the sophisticated tools that Palantir has, they're going to exercise discretion to get all the data that they can. This has been happening for a very long time. You might remember the Jade Helm exercise several years ago. It spread from Arizona to Texas. And this was an exercise to gather intel on civilian populations in an urban scenario. And the purpose of doing that was to predict the behavior of groups this obviously wasn't necessarily successful at that point, but they were gathering, they were doing the exercise, and this is the technology that they're using today. They can predict when any group gets together, small or large, what that group is going to do, and the individuals in the group as well. So, this is just a continuation of a long string of violations, I think, of civil rights for sure, because the people in our community, for instance, they had no clue that the special forces were operating on the streets in plain clothes. They never saw it coming.
And of course, today it may be people that are, out there confronting ICE or whatnot. But how long before they decide that it's the Christian, the conservative, that's the domestic terrorist? We've already been set up for that. So snap your picture, grab your info, digital ID. I don't like what Brandon House said on his show the other night with Patrick Wood. I don't like it at all. That falls into the category of being an extremist, domestic terrorist, potentially. Let's flag his account. I mean, that's where we're going, right?
You know that you're already in that list. You know that. I'm on that list as well, as an extremist. They've already cast the narrative, if you will. We're not. They're not saying at this point, well, we're going to go after them as terrorists or domestic terrorists, but just the fact that they already have the crosshairs on us gives you an idea. At some point in the future, somebody's going to get the wild idea. We need to go after those alternative truthers, if you will, and the Christians, and just take them down.
And of course, the way to go after us today, unlike maybe in the 30s, in a different time, a different place, would be just now to fine us into compliance. Digital ID, social credit score, you're going to shut up. You're not going to say this. Here's your parameters. I don't care if you want to get on TV on your Sunday night little Bible study, Brandon, and you want to teach the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, have at it. But if you criticize the government and you criticize the tech company and you criticize the Islamist and you go after and speak out against the LGBTQ community, you say anything we deem to be political, you're going to have problems. So go teach all the Bible you want to do, House, but here are your parameters. And if we hear you do this again, every time we're going to fine you, and the fines are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you're done. You won't be able to afford to keep your lights on, much less broadcast. That's probably how it'll go, right?
It probably is. But, in Canada right now, if you say the wrong thing biblically, even to read a passage out of the Bible publicly, you can be arrested right now. So, you're the defense said, well, go and teach your Bible. That's no option for them.
Well, it's going to be you can teach your Bible, but when you get to Romans 1, you can read it, but you cannot add any commentary to it. So if you get to Romans 1 that talks about the LGBTQ agenda, homosexuality, etc., you can read the verse, but you cannot add commentary to it.
There you go. I know that this is where it's headed. We should not be surprised. The God of this world is very clever on how to orchestrate people into conflict. He's very clever at it, and he's doing it right before our eyes. And at some point, the world is going to really turn upside down. People will be moved into a state of mass psychosis, I think, and there's going to be real chaos at some point.
All right. What do you make of the fact we got gold today at $5,400 an ounce, over $5,400 an ounce, and silver is at, what is it, $116 an ounce? What do you make of that?
Isn't it sweet? I have to tell you, I have this book in my hands right now. I think maybe it'll. Oh shoot! I can't.
Go full screen on it. There we go.
It's called The War on Gold. Can you switch my screen?
Yes, I see it. Yep, got it. The War on Gold.
This is Anthony C. Sutton.
What year was that published?
At 1977. That was the year before that I started working with Anthony Sutton in the first place. This book, it came at a time where there was universal scorn for gold, and it was all being promoted by the banks themselves. And something happened with my picture.
There you go. Now you're back.
Okay. Am I? No, okay. Still reversed. The political class was talking about the war on gold, and as well as the bankers and anybody else in official capacity. They were all declaring gold is dead. Get over it. Get over it. And Sutton wrote. This is interesting. Just on 2026, I just might open the book to this page. He wrote, in a dictatorship, all vestiges of sovereignty have to be consolidated into the hands of the ruling elite. Isn't that just the truth right now? So you see this merging of power into the hands of a certain few in the world, and all of a sudden the lid comes off of the price of gold, and they've thrown the sheets to the wind at this point. And how many articles have you heard or read over, say, the last 50 years on how central banks have been suppressing gold? They've been talking against gold, even as they accumulated gold along the way, massively. But they told you shouldn't do that. So where are we today? Well, the people who have the gold now, and who makes the rules? The people who have the gold. Well, the gold is now migrated into the vaults of the central banks. Voila. And so they're laughing, probably. The joke's on you, people, because we fooled you for 50 years and not owning gold in the first place. But now we have the last say, and it's all being accumulated by us.
Yep. Now, I want to ask you about the crisis in Minneapolis. You know, what's going on there and what's happened. President Trump, I think, has been quoted as saying that he thought that Greg Bovino guy was maybe a little over the top, however he described him, if the report is accurate, that he thought maybe that guy was a little much for what was going on up there. His haircut, his attitude, his playing rock, paper, scissors, whatever. His dress with the long coat. I mean, like, again, if you're trying to come out of central casting and look like some kind of jackbooted thug, in my opinion, you kind of played to the part, which is exactly what you don't want to do. It would have been better if somebody was up there with a suit on, an older gentleman, being more of a diplomat, and they went in with full force, right? And I have to wonder if that wasn't done to sabotage Donald Trump, because it seems like everywhere we turn, he's either hurting himself or letting other people sabotage him. I'm trying to see if I could find the quote. Yeah. Okay, this gal is claiming, she's a White House correspondent, Trump on Greg Bovino. Quote, Bovino is very good, but he's pretty out there kind of guy. In some cases, that's good, but it wasn't good here, end quote. Now, if that quote is attributed correctly by Shelby, who is a White House correspondent, I guess, or whoever that is, at Semaphore, this is what we were saying, you know, when I saw this guy. Why is this guy there? This is setting up for failure. I'm starting to think whether, you know, and I don't think Trump is making all of these decisions, but I think that this is all a gigantic setup in order to get everyone worn down. I have friends of mine, you know, some of these people, they are, you start talking about this with them, what happened to that nurse, Alex, although the video came out today. I don't know if you've seen the video, by the way. The video came out today with a company that was filming and doing a documentary, and they were filming, you know, this guy. And I guess it came out today and it's going everywhere. The group, here it is. The group was called The New Movement. Have you seen the video?
I haven't.
You haven't? Let me play it real quick, because I think this is a manufactured crisis, okay? And I want to play the video. Here we go. Watch, go full screen. Here we go. Watch this. This was like a week before he got shot and killed.
All
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Preddy was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun.
Whoop, there you go. What appears to be a gun
is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Preddy was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street. Shortly after the altercation we filmed here on January 13th, federal agents drove away. Soon after that, we left the scene.
Can you believe they did not arrest him? And no one shouted, gun, gun, gun. Really? I mean, clearly they had to have seen he had a gun. They had him down like that. But nobody freaked out and said gun, gun, gun and shot him. But I can't believe that they did not arrest him. He should have been arrested. So again, this is why we were being very careful, Patrick. We have been very careful not to try to make this guy into being a saint. Now, the two situations are, they're not the same. They're different situations, different days. The next time they see him, from everything we've seen, unless there's additional footage that comes out, we still have to be careful. He was in the road. He was blocking. He's blowing whistles, whatnot. Lady gets shoved to the ground. He gets pepper sprayed. Lady gets shoved to the ground. He apparently is trying to help her up. He's got his hands up at one point. He's been pepper sprayed. And then they come on dog pile on him. And someone screams gun, gun. One of the agents apparently removes his gun. It apparently misfires. They, think maybe he's got his gun out from another place or that one, and it all goes bad. It all goes south. That's what it looks to be. Now, that video we just saw from, I think he said January 13th, leads us to now know he was more than likely dealing with people that knew who he was. So it is becoming more clear, and I'm not saying that justified deadly force, but at the same time, when someone screams gun, 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 and then they hear a gunshot, this is all happening in real time very fast, okay? So I'm going to be very careful here. But maybe they should have had different people on the street, better trained people. I don't know that ICE is really trained to do this kind of thing as much as go into packing plants and arrest people. But all that being said, I think all of this controversy is being used by someone. I'm not saying who the someone is, but I think this is exactly what they want. And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but this is the Hegelian dialectic until the friends you and I have who get very passionate about what happened the second time, the last time when he was killed. They get very passionate about this and angry. And I understand. And these are very conservative people. This thing is now wearing down people on the left, the middle, the right. Sean Hannity's now out saying something needs to change. Trump himself has said, Greg Bovino, he seems a little out there. So even Trump is like, I'm tired of seeing this. I don't want to see this. I want people deported.
Yeah.
This is to wear us all down. And I'm going to give you a question here, but I want to play a video first. The question is this: is this all to wear us down? Do we all agree there's no way humanly possible to get these people out of here that are illegal? Why would you want, I think it was Rand Paul, who's now saying, why are we going to force people out of here who've been here 20 years, that have a job, have built a business, have built a trade? Maybe the deal should be they never get to become citizens. Never. They never get to become citizens. But they get to stay because they're not criminals in that they broke the law to come here, but they haven't committed crimes after that. They've built a business. They have a job. They've been here 20 plus years. We cut a deal. They get to stay. Okay, well, how are you going to know who those people are? You got a digital ID them. We wear everybody down until people go where they never would have gone before. Listen to what Newt Gingrich said, which I think plays into this, and then I want you to respond.
Process. So I think there are two things. We need a national conversation about what we're going to do about people who've come here, some of them 20 years ago, who've been obeying the law, paying taxes, good neighbors, have kids, go to PTA. Very few Americans want to see the police walk in and pick them up and deport them. On the other hand, people do not want to give them citizenship. So there should be some middle ground here on long-term goals.
There you go. Middle ground. Middle ground. That's what you call the Hegelian dialectic. Now we come to the middle ground. And I'm telling you right now, somebody or a group of people, and I'm not saying Trump, because I think if I were to say, hey, Mr. Trump, you know what the Hegelian dialectic process is? He would go, no, right? I mean, I'd be surprised if he did. This is not his area. But I'm telling you, somebody has orchestrated all of this conflict, Trevor. Patrick.
Yes. I accept the compliment.
You're welcome. Would you agree with me? And now the compromise is going to be everybody gets a digital ID.
All of a sudden, all the troublemakers, all the Antifa people in Portland, Oregon, remember how upside down Portland was for all those months and months, right? All of a sudden, just a few weeks ago, all those camps cleared out, and they're nowhere to be found in Portland, Oregon. They all moved. Guess where they showed up now?
Minneapolis.
That's exactly right. You're talking about a seasoned troublemaker. That's the wrong. These people are anarchists. They're when Antifa was originally a communist organization in Europe. These people have been highly trained to do what they do at this point. When you see the level of orchestration in Minneapolis at this point is unbelievable. How tightly connected these people are, and there's hundreds of them. There's a bunch of them, and they're communicating with Signal mostly, apparently. And they're aware of all the cars in the area that are passing through. They're taking license plate numbers and doxing people, and the level of communication at this point is just over the top. So when we look at this, who would be wanting to make this thing look like a propaganda event like Hamas used to do, right? And they're probably going to do it. And again, this is the level of propaganda that has come out of Hamas in the first place, using all these props of people in various positions, and people, children, and all that kind of stuff. This is the type of propaganda that we're going to have in the future, and we see it all over this place. Who would profit at that at this point? Certainly, Antifa doesn't have. These people don't have any conscience what they do. They don't care. They're having fun. They're young people, all of them, and so they're drinking it up at night, and they're smoking something maybe, but they're not the object of this thing. Who's controlling the purse strings at the top? That's my question. I don't know, but they're too highly organized to say it's just a bunch of hoodlums.
Yeah. And now, thesis, antithesis, idea, opposite idea. Chaos brings the change. Chaos brings the change. And now people are tired, they're worn out, they're worn down. Digital IDs, right? And then you let the banking system collapse. You want your money? Digital ID, right? You want to be insured with the FDIC and be made whole? Digital ID. You don't want to? Then whatever you had in the bank, I'm sorry, gone. Digital ID will make you whole. I mean, how much is it going to take?
We have this digital ID system already in place. It's just that you and I don't know our numbers yet. That's the only detail they have.
You're just withheld it. You're a ray of sunshine. I'm on a list. You've told me I'm on a list, and they've already got my number. Wow.
Well, I guarantee you they got probably several numbers on you aside from your Social Security number.
Yeah, you're telling me they've already got my ID number picked out.
I know. So here's the thing. When it's appropriate or convenient for them to trot out our digital IDs and just give them, they're already just assigned, they'll just give it to us, and then your option will be, will you download the app on your phone or not? And if you don't, you're not going to get any services, because all services will come through that app in the end. And your digital ID will bring all the information together in one happy master database.
Are we going to be raptured before this?
I hope so.
Me too. Here's Rand Paul.
I know.
Here's Rand. Look at this.
You're going to shock you. I'm a moderate on this. I actually think that most of the people that are here and working lawfully and can pass a background check, I would give them no welfare, and I'd give them no citizenship, no voting privileges, but you can work and we won't arrest you.
Okay, well, how are you going to give them no welfare, no citizenship, no voting privilege? How are you going to keep them from getting that? Because they don't get an ID that turns on those rights, all right? Just as they can turn off our rights, they can turn off the rights of the illegals. You can be here, no welfare, no voting, no citizenship. When they swipe their card, you can't come in to vote. When they swipe their card to go apply for welfare, you can't apply. So they can take away the privileges of the non-citizen the same way they're going to take away our rights as citizens.
You're right. And why has the narrative changed in the last 3 or 4 months from getting these criminals and the killers and the rapists and all that kind of rot out of our country? Where was all the talk about making America safe? Well, why now are they going after people that have been here for 20 years? That I don't ever remember that was on the drawing board in the first place.
In other words, we want Tren de Aragua, we want MS-13, we want the hard gangbangers, all of them out of there. And I think they've moved out some of them. But now they're going after people that are women and have been here a long time, and they're not criminals. And they're going after enough of these people, and they're making it into the news that now you got a lot of people crying, literally.
Yeah,
and
literally.
What you're saying is now they've moved to the emotional stories that they need to get everybody to wave the white flag and say, we don't want them out of here. Wait a minute, I thought you guys all voted for this. Well, now we see how it looks. We don't like it. So, yeah, we were all big and bad and wanted that. And now we realize how the sausage is made. We don't want it.
Yep. Yep. They're going to flip the narrative back on us again, probably. May I say something about concealed weapons permits, by the way? This guy that got shot, he was carrying a gun. He had a permit. They said he had a permit. I didn't see him myself, but that's what they said. And this guy was interacting with a dangerous situation for sure. Anybody in their right mind would have seen that as a dangerous situation. When I went through concealed weapons course when I got my permit years and years ago, they told me, they stressed this to me and other people in the class. When you see a dangerous situation that you know could spiral into trouble, walk away. That's what you do. You walk away from a dangerous situation and don't risk your life over it, and don't exacerbate it, the situation if you're in it. Just walk away. Don't look back. And if somehow you get in bigger trouble than that, you may have to use your firearm to protect yourself. This was totally in the trash can with this guy. Totally. He shouldn't have been there in the first place. He was expecting trouble, definitely, and he was dealing with people who already were armed. The situation could have exploded at any time. And this goes against any kind of training he had, because he probably had some training before he got his permit. That's exactly what they would have told him. Walk away, find shelter, get behind a barrier or something. If you need to protect yourself, just walk away from the trouble. Don't get in trouble in the first place. This guy was looking for trouble, big time.
And, Patrick, I think that's great advice. I really, really do. I just look at what happened. And I'm thinking to myself, if you know these are federal agents, or they're police, and they're going to be against you, don't go down there. But if you go down there, don't go armed, so that you can't be accused of anything. He was brandishing a weapon. Okay, he wasn't, but he got accused of it. But if you didn't have the weapon, then they would have a hard time accusing you of brandishing a weapon. So go down and protest, blow your whistle, protest, but don't engage them with a gun. I think it's a common sense thing. And I think his parents told him the same thing. Don't go down there and tangle with these people.
Yeah, he should hiding behind a gun permit at this point as a rationale to carry a gun in the first place. Anybody's going to look at that and be against concealed permit at that point. So many people, even people in the Republican Party, are saying now, well, we have to revisit this whole business. Well, there's no business to revisit, for Pete's sake. This guy was a stark raving idiot for putting himself in the position to lose his life.
And you know what? I have to wonder. And I guess it's just speculation on my part, but he's a nurse. So did he have to have the COVID shot? Did he have all the COVID shots? Did he have all the boosters? Because I just had Nick Olsher on last night, who is now calling this thing a chemical lobotomy. The COVID shots and boosters are chemical lobotomies. And we've got a peer-reviewed study by Nick and Dr. Thorpe and Dr. Peter McCullough that's showing that when people have multiple shots, their ability for discernment, for cognitive ability, even now they can go into depression, suicidal, they go through the whole thing. So is this creating within people a chemical lobotomy where they're now not making rational decisions? And one has to wonder if that isn't part of the goal. Was part of the goal depopulation, sterilization, but also not only depopulation and sterilization, but to lobotomize the people so they do stupid things that justify bigger and more intrusive government?
Certainly could be. That we've seen Well, I've seen anecdotal evidence of that. I think Thorpe, et cetera, they've applied their discipline to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it, but I understand it, and it's very, very much a real thing.
Let me go to the rest of that clip by Senator Rand Paul and Joe Rogan.
And I give them no citizenship, no voting privileges, but you can work and we won't arrest you.
Okay. No citizenship, but a potential path to citizenship?
I think it's better just to say the trade-off is this, that you came illegally. Right now the law says you got to go back and you'll never get in, basically. So the compromise is you came in illegally, you just don't get to be a citizen, your kids will be. Now the new ones, the 8 million that might have come in last year, some of them need to go back, and particularly any of them committing crimes. The compromise I'm offering is different than anybody's ever talked about. Everybody thinks the compromise has to include voting and citizenship. If in Texas we gave amnesty and let, I don't know, a couple million people vote, immediately Texas becomes Democrat for the next 20 years. So that's what it's all about. It's about voting. I think some of the best Americans just got here, frankly. They have good work ethic. They're hardworking people. They work in our fields. They pick our tomatoes. They clean fish. They work in chicken houses. They do a lot of the dirty jobs in our country are done by immigrants. So
they also came here with ambition because they want a better life at great peril, at great risk.
And some of them are here illegally. I would have a work program. I'd let them sign up for a work program, pass a background check.
But do you think that they should have to go back home in order to become a citizen? Like if you could show, like if some guy came over here 20 years ago, started off as a laborer, now he's a carpenter, he's working for some construction company, but he's an illegal.
Right.
Like,
now, the trade is you don't get citizenship at all. Your kids will. I would just say you don't get citizenship. That's your trade-off. Here's an interesting survey. Let's find 1,000 people who are in Texas illegally and do a poll and say, would you accept this? Would you accept that you don't get to vote during your lifetime, but your kids will get to vote if they were born here in exchange for not having to worry about being in a car accident or being sent back to Mexico? I'll bet you 80% of the people here illegally would take work without citizenship. But you know who wants the citizenship and doesn't care about work? Democrats. All they care about is the voting part.
Wow. All right, so there you go. I don't know. We'll see. But if you want to build a North American Union, who cares if you have citizenship? Because the whole goal of that is you can bounce around as you want. You're still a citizen of Mexico, but you pretty much have the full rights of being an American, minus the ability to vote and get welfare.
And you certainly see the talk about the North American Union surfacing again.
You're going to shock
you. Boy.
That was the computer. Sorry. Yep.
This is a repeat. The third time, by the way, we saw it in 2005 with President Bush and the three amigos, Canada and Mexico. We saw it under Obama, and we had vestiges of it a little bit under Biden. But now it's repeating on us under Trump.
Yep.
This is a doctrine that will not go away.
Whew. And most people don't understand it through the lens of technocracy or the Hegelian dialectic process or Bible prophecy, but we sure do, don't we? And this audience does. Let's take people to his website so they can go there. It's technocracy.news, technocracy.news. Patrick Wood also has a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Logan House, and that airs at 6 p.m. Central, I believe it is, 7 Eastern Standard, Tuesdays and Thursdays, right here on Worldview Tube. Patrick, as always, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
Guys, you appreciate the broadcast? Man, we're bringing you lots of great information tonight. Please be sure to go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all the great... Am I Patrick Wood now? Check out all... Look at my name's under there. I'm Patrick Wood now. Check out all the great product. There we go. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all the great products there. Numi, Bella Grace, Gatatuna, Bella Melt, the whole 9 yards. Stimulate your body's natural GLP-1. Get your Numi to detox your cells. Oh my, oh my, oh my. What a bad set of news I got last night. Talk about detoxing your cells. How many times have I told you guys, sometimes we have to detox our cells because we're taking in toxins and we don't even know it, okay? Can I let you in on a little secret? I like Tootsie Rolls, okay? I like Tootsie Rolls. And this morning, my wife threw away a big candy not a bowl, but a candy jar that included Tootsie Rolls. Because last night I showed her this and I said, tomorrow morning, babe, can you please throw away all those Tootsie Rolls? I hate to do it. But this is another reason why I take Numi, because I need to be detoxing my cells from things I'm taking in my body that I didn't know. Listen to what the First Lady of Florida says is in candy and our beloved Tootsie Rolls.
Through independent testing conducted by certified laboratories, the Florida Department of Health tested 46 different candy brands from 10 different companies. Of those, 33 were traditional, well-known candies, brands that we grew up with, things like Three Musketeers and Snickers and Skittles and Nerds and Kit Kats and Jolly Ranchers. In 26 of the 33 traditional candy brands tested, arsenic was detected at elevated levels.
Arsenic in elevated levels. Why? Why?
These levels are problematic when evaluated over the course of a year, and this is where the distinction is so crucially important. The concern here is not necessarily about one single piece of candy on one single day. The concern is when these products are consumed, as they realistically are, repeatedly over time, exposure can exceed what the Department of Health has determined to be safe annual allotment for arsenic. And here's why the context really matters. Take Nerds, for example. Yes, my daughter really likes Nerds. According to the department's analysis, consuming more than 96 Nerds, the small granular pieces of Nerds in a year, exceeds what is considered a safe annual arsenic exposure for children. But 96 Nerds, as we well know, is not typically what comes in a box. When you think about it, a typical smaller box can contain about 2,000. If you get one of those big boxes that you get like a movie theater, that's about 8,000 Nerds. Asking families to stop at 96 pieces over a year is not realistic when it's viewed against how the product is packaged, marketed, and then consumed. Another example to give you context and perspective is Swedish fish. The Department of Health determined that more than 8 pieces of Swedish fish exceed the estimated safe annual arsenic exposure level for a child. Yet in a typical small bag, usually 3 to 5 ounces, there are anywhere from 50 to 100 pieces. Stopping at 8 pieces does not reflect the real-world consumption. The same with Jolly Ranchers. The hard candies also kids love. The department's analysis shows that more than 6 pieces can exceed the annual safe threshold for arsenic exposure. A standard 7-ounce bag typically contains anywhere from 25, 30, 40 individually wrapped candies. And on it goes through 26 different types of candies who tested for those elevated levels that, again, are problematic when you think about them in aggregate. And keep this in mind, too. This is really before taking into consideration aggregate exposure, yes, as you're eating more than the allotment that the Florida Department of Health has deemed in a single serving or in a partial part of the bag. It's also consumed over time, more than a year, the candies, but it's also looking as you're eating more candy and then other foods that could potentially contain arsenic as well. Parents and grandparents may not be aware of these potential problems about arsenic. And cumulative exposure is not something that anyone sees reflected on a label or at a checkout aisle. And the context matters, especially for the health and the well-being of our children. And as the Surgeon General will talk about in a second, arsenic is a known toxic element. Long-term exposure, particularly during childhood, has been linked to developmental impacts, effects on the immune system, and increased cancer risk later in life.
So, now another reason why we have the explosion of cancer. And not only adults, but children. All right, look at this. Our good old buddy, Nicholas Hulsher. 60% of childhood candies contain dangerous levels of arsenic. I was tweeting with him today about this. Not tweeting, we call it texting with him about this. Sweet Tarts, Snickers, Skittles, Kit Kats, Nerds, Sour Patch Kids, Twizzlers, Jolly Ranchers, Trolley, Tootsie Roll among the worst offenders. Florida State tested 46 popular sweets. 28 showed elevated arsenic linked to increased cancer risk with repeated exposure. Safe yearly limits for a child based on detected arsenic. I'm going to go to my beloved Snickers, or not Snickers, Tootsie Rolls. 8 pieces a year for a child. 8. Okay, so let's just double it. 16? 16, the safe level of arsenic for an adult let's just double it. 16, I can have 16 Tootsie Rolls in a year. The little small ones, I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm not doing any anymore. Why would I do any? Do they give any breakdowns for an adult versus a child? Yeah, I think they do. I think they may actually do that. Let's look at here. I'm looking for the Tootsie Rolls. There they are, Tootsie Rolls. And it says, what does that say? What is that? Kind of blurry. Child or adult? Ooh, look at that. How helpful. Here we go. All right, so I said double it. There's your Tootsie Rolls. All right, okay, 8 pieces. Looks like that's 8 pieces. Tootsie Roll, 8 pieces for a child, 20 for an adult, because there's the adult. M&Ms. Are you kidding me? Seriously? I don't have those very often, but for a treat every now and then. Risk not identified. Woo! Sweet. I do love Three Musketeers, one of my favorite candy bars growing up. I guess no more of that. Well, I guess we're safe with M&Ms, Logan. All right, see what else? Twix is safe, risk not identified. Milky Way, but Snickers, I love Snickers too. Skittles, I always kind of was afraid of Skittles. Too many colors, I figured the red and all that, those are dyes. So I was already afraid of Skittles. So Sour Pouch Kids, don't care for that. Dots, don't care for that. Tootsie Rolls, love them, no more. Annie's organic bunny fruit flavored snacks, don't care about that. Don't even know what they are. Let's see. What else do we have? What was the other one? What was the other little list they had? Where is it? That's it. Nope. All right, I guess that's it. So there you go, folks. There you go. No more Tootsie Rolls. Thank the Lord we got, at least could save ourselves. Oh, here's the other one I wanted. We could save ourselves on M&Ms. Let's see this one here. That's what we were just looking at. I want the other one. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So I don't know what that is either. Black Forest gummy bears. I don't know what gummy bears are, but I don't know what Black Forest is. Taffy, nerds. I don't care about any of that. Sweet tarts. Okay. No, I occasionally will get a roll of sweet tarts, maybe once a year. 120 pieces for an adult. I'm not doing that anymore. Period. Oh boy. Here we go. Woo! Hershey's. We're saved again. Hershey's milk chocolate. Now I will probably do maybe one Hershey milk chocolate, one a month or something. If it's not in the house, I don't have it. So I try to keep the stuff out. But if I see a Hershey bar, I'm going to go break off a square. Maybe one. I don't eat the whole candy bar. I break off a square. But look at that. No risk. Not okay. So I'm safe with my Hershey. I'm safe with my M&Ms. Whoppers. Now, I don't get those very often, but woo, I love Whoppers. Look, those are safe. Good. Twizzlers, I always avoided those for the most part because, again, the red dye. It's like, I'm not doing that. Red dye, no thank you. Kit Kat, I thought those were probably a little bit lower fat because they're not solid chocolate. But look at that. No, can't have those. All right, so you might want to go to Nick Helscher's page and print that out because now you're going to know what you can and cannot eat. Arsenic, are you kidding me? Now, the question is this going to change anything? Is this going to change anything as far as the manufacturing of these? I don't know. But this is another perfect example of why I think you should be detoxing your cells because they tell you guys all the time, we're getting toxins in our system. A lot of times we don't even know it. Oh, yeah. Now we're finding out even a little harmless Tootsie Roll. Really? All right. So do your Numi every day. You can get that worldviewtube.com/sponsors with everything else. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And we'll be right back. Do you know about glutathione? You can't live without it. It's a naturally occurring ingredient in your body. But guess what? It starts to decrease around the age of 20. you need glutathione. There are over 165,000 studies on glutathione at PubMed. It detoxes your cells. And we know there are toxins everywhere. In fact, studies have shown glutathione may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Check it out at swishforlife.com. You just put a small 2 caps in your mouth, swish it for about 3 minutes. Then you can swallow it or spit it out. Studies show that this is in your bloodstream within 90 seconds. It's better than an IV. That'll cost you about $250, and it's broken down. But when you swish with it, it is in your body in 90 seconds in its totality. Glutathione, you need it to live. Swishforlife.com. Swishforlife.com. Join me now outside of the polling center there in Georgia is our buddy Garland Favorito, and I think he has his wife with him. I think Mrs. Favorito is with us. Garland, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Tell us this afternoon where it is you are. It's a beautiful sunny day there. It looks a little cold. Where are you? Fulton County?
We're at the Fulton County Election Hub and Operations Warehouse. This is where the ballots have been for the last couple of years. Fulton County.
Speak up a little bit, Garland.
Yeah. So the FBI came today to get the ballots, apparently with a court order, and I believe they're in the process of picking those up now if they have not finished.
Okay, so the FBI raided the place today, and they're there to pick up the ballots from the 2020 election from the Fulton County Election Center.
That's right. Yes. That's exactly it.
And what are they hoping to be able to prove by picking those up?
Well, I think we're hoping to probably finally find out what actually happened in the 2020 election. You know, Brandon, you've been following us for 5 years, that we've been trying to see the ballots since December of 2020, when we filed the original case. And Fulton County has kept these ballots from every voter in the state of Georgia for 5 years.
So are you thinking they're going to recount them and find duplicates, or that they don't have as many ballots as they actually have counts, meaning they were running them through the counter, the same ballots over and over?
Well, it's hard to say, Brandon. That would be speculation. But what we do know is that the electronic records for the 2020 election in Fulton County do not add up to what they certified. So hopefully this will finally answer the questions that the voters of Georgia and America have wanted to know for 5 years.
Are you shocked this happened?
No, we're not shocked. We felt like it had to happen sooner or later. The DOJ criminal division wanted them. DOJ civil division wants them. State election board wants them. We have 3 civil cases that want the ballots, and there was a criminal case that dismissed, one of the Fannie Willis prosecutions, that also was all seeking the ballots for the 2020 election.
Are you confident? Are you reason to believe that they're all there? That they haven't been tampered with?
They've told us that they're there. The clerk has told us that they're there. I'm going to take their word for it that they were there. Apparently, they picked something up today, or in the process of picking it up. So I'll assume that they are there for now.
Okay. So how long do you think it'll be before we get word of what the ballots?
It's hard to say, Brandon. At this time, we don't know how long it'll be.
Okay. So this is good news. You're there. Are you guys being joined by other people that are there, and why are they all there?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. Let me see if we can flip this behind you. We can see there's a bunch of cameras here. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Bunch of cameras, bunch of news people. I'm gonna flip it around some more, and so it's a pretty significant day.
Now, are you hearing any other reports from the election integrity world about Smartmatic, Dominion, going to paper, counting in one day? What are you hearing?
Probably the biggest thing for was the last week's state election board meeting, where we put additional evidence on over 1 million electronic records missing from the 2020 election. We have clear evidence of manipulation of the tabulators. And so there's a lot of things that I think will continue to come out maybe in the next state election board meeting.
What do you think is going to happen when it comes to the midterm elections? Do you feel like enough states like Georgia and others have made enough process or progress in making the elections cleaner and more? No, your wife's already shaking her head no. So are you expecting voter fraud in the midterm elections?
Well, there could be, because they've still got the machines. We desperately need not to use the Dominion voting machine, and other states to use ES&S or Hardin or Civic. They're just as bad. So until we get rid of those, I don't think we can be sure that we've got fair and honest elections.
Right. And then we have to have transparency. We can't wait for 5 years to prove what the results are of the 2020 election, because the county is hiding the ballots from all the voters in their state and even across America if it's a federal election.
All right. Anything else you want to tell our audience?
No, well,
we're glad we're here. We're glad we're to this point. I think, it took 3 letters from the DOJ before the FBI had to come out. It just shows how Fulton County is trying to continue this cover-up.
Is there anybody you want to thank in the DOJ? Any names you can mention and thank?
Well, both the criminal and civil divisions are interested in this matter. I think you're going to see activity on both sides. This is obviously coming from the criminal side since it's the FBI, but I think the civil side has been helpful as well.
Are these Trump appointees that are doing this?
I think
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like a brisk day there in the Atlanta area. We appreciate you running down there this afternoon and doing this live on location report for us, guys.
Our pleasure, Brandon. Anything for you.
Oh, you're very kind. Garland and Tamara, appreciate it, guys.
Good to see you.
You too. VoterGA.org. VoterGA.org. Can you believe it's been 5 years we've been working with Garland? 5 years. Where has the time gone? But we wanted to bring you that report. So we asked him to run down there, and he's a team player, that's for sure. All right, guys, gold and silver has gone nuts. President Trump is bragging that the dollar is down, that it's low. He likes that. Why? I guess it has to do with exports. I'll explain all this with our friend Michael Weiner. Michael and I have been working together about 18 years now. All right, Michael, let's try to keep it very simple for everybody. We don't want to go over everybody's head. We're going to try to keep it basic economics 101. But my wife asked me, Brandon, why is President Trump interested in the dollar being low? He was out there the other day bragging in a restaurant in Iowa that he likes where the dollar is at. And I was trying to explain to him, and I said, well, let's go into deeper conversation with that with Michael Weiner. And that's what we're going to do now. Here's the video. Watch what President Trump had to say at this restaurant.
Well, Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great.
All right. The dollar's going down. It's really gone down the last couple of weeks and this week. It's really going down. It's lost a percentage of its purchasing power in the last year. You can tell me if you've tracked how much purchasing power has the dollar lost in the last 12 months. But why is he happy the dollar is going down? It has something to do with encouraging manufacturing and thus exports out of the country, correct?
Correct. Cost of doing business in the United States becomes a lot more favorable, which ultimately favors the country. Plus, it also plays into the fact of the big picture, which is why the dollar is going down. And we warned about it a year ago. We warned about it in July after the law was passed. We warned about it because we said we're going to be going through a financial metamorphosis. What does a metamorphosis mean? A change, period. And what we're going through right now is the beginnings of it. Part of the bill that passed, the great big beautiful bill, was the Genius Act. And in the Genius Act was the formations in the beginning of digital currency, which started and starts this year. So our financial system is going to go through a change.
Okay, but I want to stop you, though, because we didn't get really to the answer here. Why is it that they want the dollar to go down? Is it so that other countries can come in here with their dollars, turn their money into U.S. currency, and thus their strong currency buys more dollars, and more than they use that to buy. In other words, if their currency is stronger and buys more dollars, they get more goods when they bring their currency over and buy goods with American dollars, trade them for American dollars, because their currency buys more dollars, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
correct.
now,
And
that's why
he's loving that. Correct.
Okay, so that encourages them to come here and buy, which encourages manufacturing, which helps to create jobs. Now,
correct.
Is that benefit that maintains jobs and manufacturing, at what point is that offset, though? Because the decreasing value of the dollar, the debasement of the dollar, now it takes more dollars in America to buy your bread, to buy your goods and services. How is that not offset? How is the hidden tax of inflation not offsetting any gains we would have in manufacturing?
Trump believes that the economy is going to do so well that the people will make more money off this, so subsequently it'll offset whatever their losses are on their currencies. But
do you believe that?
Not totally at all.
You don't believe that at all?
I'm telling people right now, and we've been saying it, that ultimately, I know that the financial geniuses out there are telling people that everything's going to be wonderful, but I would be very, very cautious. And I would also be cautious to the fact of banking, because the digital world will also affect the banks, and this dollar situation will cause the banks to do some very creative things. And we already all know that the banks are not our friends. So it's gonna, unfortunately, it's just like the best analogy I can give you of why Trump thinks it's going to be great is he probably thought loading up troops into Minneapolis was a great idea. Now he's got a disaster going on. And the reality is the problem, and look, I don't want the Democrats to win in November at all, because that's going to be the nail in the coffin on us. But if they don't clean their act up here and stop pulling off these constant mistakes, we're going to be stuck with a bunch of communist socialists running this nation. And it's not going to be something pleasant. And that's why you've got to, take the time to protect yourself, because I don't believe the overall strategy here is a good one.
Okay, now let's stop right there. I want to stop right there again. Stay on track here. Trump was at one time, I think, bragged that he was the king of debt, right? So I'm not a fan of debt. The Bible says that the bar is slave to the lender. I'm not a fan of debt. Now, there is another group of people that they love debt. They take all the debt they can get, and then they turn around and they write off their debt, and they can push their taxes down, and then they can use their money to go buy more assets. And I don't play in that world, okay? Many of them, I guess they've done well with that. I want to be able to sleep at night. So I don't like debt. We're a debt-free organization and have been for a long time, because we don't buy on credit. We expand and we grew over 36 years as the budget allowed us to, right? But President Trump, and this is where I start differing with him and saying, I don't know if he knows what he's doing financially, because he built his whole empire on debt. And then I'm told and watched documentaries that some bankers and other people came in and basically said, look, we're going to have to ride this out with him. If what I'm being told was true, they all got in a room and said, we're going to have to ride this out with him. And they wrote it out with him because they were all in the game with him. And by the increase of his assets, of his properties, long term, it worked out for him. But I think he could have just as well lost his shirt. And of course, I think he's filed bankruptcy, which I know is within the laws. So I'm not trying to be critical of him, other than saying I don't have the mentality of finances that he has. And I think my mentality is right. Debt-free, cash on the barrelhead, limited debt. He, however, brings that worldview of his into the government. And I'm not so sure that that's going to end up being the best benefit for us as a nation.
I agree with you, and I can say that Donald Trump back in best example, 1979, when interest rates went to 21%, and he was building the Trump Tower, he almost lost it because the loan costs that he had was so astronomical, they were going to literally take the building. It was that close. What bailed him out also, he opened the casino up in New Jersey, And if you remember, what brought him out was his dad. His dad walked up and put up $80 million to bail him out.
That's all. Wait a minute. I didn't know that. Is that all documented? Really?
Yeah, you could pull up about his casino. It was a disaster.
I knew about that, but I didn't realize his dad helped him that much.
Oh, his dad helped him. There was rumors that his dad put up chips to do it, so that way they couldn't attach it. I don't know if there's truth to that, but I do know he almost lost Trump Towers, and I do know he lost I think he lost the casino or almost lost it. But that's how come in Vegas, if you go to the Trump Hotel, there's no gambling. Okay, I think it has to do with what went on in New Jersey. But what I'm getting to is I think that what the only saving grace, and please, people don't think that I don't think Donald Trump is going to put us into trouble. I think Joe Biden buried us. But I think that we are going through some issues that he is going to have to work out, because if he doesn't, we're going to have a problem.
Okay, now I just fact checked you. We like to fact check people here. I just fact checked you. The Daily News, there's multiple sites, by the way. I just picked this one. Daily News, Donald Trump's dad bailed him out. No, I don't want that, guys. I don't want to buy your little weird thing. Donald Trump's dad bailed him out. It's going to let me read the headline. In the 70s, $8.5 million in loans so he could avoid bankruptcy. All right. So I had several places I read that. Okay. So again, I'm not criticizing President Trump. I'm not, he's fortunate to have had the dad he did and all that. And he's been successful in business in a lot of ways. So I'm not in any way trying to be critical of the president. What I'm saying is he's probably more of a gambler. He's probably more of a debt guy. He's probably more of a Keynesian guy, right? Keynesian economics, debt. He's not probably more of an Austrian guy, cash on the barrel, limited debt, that kind of thing, right? So this would help explain why he has no problem with debasement of currency, which is very much an inflationary thing. I was reading some guy today who's saying that what Trump was going to do is going to keep inflation low. Wait a minute. Isn't dollar debasement by its very nature inflationary?
Absolutely. Plus, we're also going to have a major devaluation. That Genius Act thing that I talked about creates a digital world in the United States, but the part of that law states that the Federal Reserve can no longer print money. They cannot make digital money. So who's going to make the digital money? The Treasury. And guess what? The Federal Reserve is not involved, which is good. But today, the genius, by the way, the Jerome Powell, the idiot, another really interesting character, comes out and makes some ridiculous statements that did nothing to help the world and did nothing to help us. So, we're sitting here and trying to tell
just so
people
folks know, the Fed is not going to change interest rates.
Nope, they're not.
Okay. All right. Nope. Now, gold and silver are going crazy. They are skyrocketing today. Gold is at about $5,400 and some odd dollars, 4,000, just say 5,400. Oh, there it is, 5,416. All right. Silver's at about $116 an ounce. I mean, it has gone nuts. All right. Gold and silver have gone nuts. I think I have a chart here if I could find it real quick. All right, here we go. This newsletter is talking about gold futures extend gains to over $1,000 an ounce on the month. Now on track for the biggest monthly dollar gain in history. All right. So clearly, people are running into gold and silver because they fear the destruction of the dollar. They're losing purchasing power. And they're like, we might as well buy now while our dollars buy more, because it's not gold going up. It's the dollar going down, right?
That's true. And also the fact that right now, understand, I said 5,200 by March 1st. We didn't put into effect some of the changes that are happening right now that are pretty stupid, especially Trump's comment regarding the dollar going down is good. That is what fueled the last couple $100 here. My projection now goes to 6,000 a year end. Some people can say it'd be 6,000 next week. Who knows? Right now, I can say that when I said it a week ago, Brandon, on the show, that gold, stop just saying silver, silver, silver. Gold is cheap. and it was $5,100. That's $300 ago, a week ago. How wrong was I? And I'm saying that to everybody right now. I told you that I was told gold was cheap when it was $42.50, $42.50 in the ancient days in the 70s. And I'm telling you now that you look a year from now, at this point in time after the first of the year, 6,200 or more gold. But the biggest thing that people have to understand is what is going to happen to everything else. What is going to happen to your portfolios? How do you protect yourself? You offset it by physically controlling gold. Even some of the geniuses on television right now that are rambling about buying gold and have some people turn around and tell them to buy ETFs, which is nothing more than buying paper with paper. You're accomplishing nothing.
Yeah, but let me go to a clip. I got a lot of clips, man. This is going to be a great segment. Here's Ray Dalio. Listen to what Ray has come out and said about this dollar debasement. Then I have a clip by Warren Buffett. Whoa, that's hot. Let's start that again. Here we go.
There is the loss of confidence in the reserve currency, which drives people to see alternative storeholds of wealth. So, for example,
that's a key, which causes people to seek alternative storehouses of wealth. Okay, here we go.
When there's a debt issue, there are two ways of dealing with debt. There's hard money, you're traditionally backed by gold. And when that happened, then there was breakdowns in that monetary system, the valuation. So for example, classically, March 1933, Roosevelt, with the debt problem, was forced to go off the gold standard, printed a lot of money, devalued the dollar, and then it moved on. In 1971, we had the same. Nixon did the same thing, went off the gold standard, and devalued and so on. And the creation of a lot of debt and money means that money goes someplace else, and it traditionally, both of those cases, it went into stocks, gold, and other places. So money is always the holders of money, which are the holders of bonds. Bonds are a promise to receive money, a lot of money over a period of time. It's a very long money position. And when those become unattractive, such as now, let's say, you get zero interest rate or close to zero interest rate or even a negative interest rate, and there's a lot of creation of debt and a lot of printing of money, that drives that into other assets. They may not be another currency if there's not a good currency. They may be stocks, they may be gold, and they may be another currency. But it is that kind of time that we're in. So next year and the year after, no matter what, we're going to have large deficits. We are going to produce a lot of debt, and we will monetize that debt, and that debt will have a negative real return, and therefore people will borrow in it, will find it more advantageous to borrow in it than own it, and then they will move to other assets.
Now, isn't that what the central banks are doing? Central banks, of course, mostly are private bankers giving a federal charter. That's what our Federal Reserve is. It's a group of private banks given a federal charter in 1913. And I bet you those guys are taking whatever money they get their hands on as a bank or as individuals, and they're turning around taking that paper money, as he was just talking about, and they're shoving it into real assets. I highly doubt they're sitting around in dollar-denominated assets that are subject to the erosion of the dollar. Now, the question is, why, for instance, are we not seeing an increase in the prices of homes? I just saw an article today, if I can find it. Here we go. CNBC. Home buyers are backing out of deals at the fastest pace in a decade. Okay. Why do you think that is, number one? And number two, when will the people in this audience, and many of the people in this audience, of course, over the last 18 years have purchased gold and they have purchased silver. And I would venture to guess a lot of the people that have been following this broadcast for a lot of years are really happy right now. I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. But I would think, if I could pat myself on the back for a minute, I would think we have educated a lot of people, right? And that's what we're here to do, provide education. take people who say, I don't really know a lot about that, but I like watching Brandon's broadcast because he loves to learn. He loves to read. He loves to research, and he loves to turn around and teach what he's learned. And I'm always learning. And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And I got to go learn more. So I would venture to guess in our long history, we have a lot of people have made not that gold and silver is about making money, it's about preserving wealth. But I would guess you hear from a lot of our audience and say, well, I sure am glad I was listening and watching House over these years because I've learned about dollar debasement, Keynesian economics, etc. So first of all, I think a lot of our audience is happy. You'll have to speak to that, what you hear. Number two, knowing that much of our audience is we have an older audience, which is great. That's exactly the demographic I want. I want an older audience that's mature, that's seasoned, that have the ability to influence other people. You can have an audience of 20-year-olds, and I'm happy for the 20-year-olds to learn, but they still have a lot of growing up to do, and they really don't have a lot of influence. Whereas an older audience, they have influence with a lot of people because they have, made a lot of friends in their lifetime, and they're generally educated people. And educated people tend to be affluent people, tend to be people who have influence in their community. So they're a great group of people to influence if you want to take and disciple them in some level and have them turn around and then influence and disciple others. And knowing the demographic about my audience, a lot of them own a house. And a lot of them have their house paid for. And some of them own rental properties and townhomes or houses. So I'm going to ask for my audience tonight, when are they going to see some of their hard assets like their land, their rental properties, their own primary home? When are these hard assets going to be impacted? Gold and silver going straight up. I don't see the prices of homes doing that yet. Why?
Well, first of all, you asked with the cheaper dollar, you're also going to have cheaper values and cheaper cost to build, et cetera. And at the end of the day, I can tell you that what's the biggest factor why these people are backing out of deals is a very simple reason, and that's because of fear. They're afraid of their ability to be able to meet their obligation, and that's a simple truth. And as far as it goes with Mr. Dalio, he can call me up and I'll re-educate him a little bit because they didn't go off the gold standard in 1933. They changed the currency in 1983 from gold certificates to silver. Gold standard was still existing until 1971. So give me a call, Ray. I'll help you out. At the end of the day, on gold and our clients being happy here right now, 90%, 99% of the people are very happy, but the biggest thing they're happy about is the security that they have. They own something they control in the midst of all this craziness. And the question should be said, do I have enough? Am I adequately protected? And the other thing is, actually, Brandon, we were a little bit late today because I had people here from Worldview Weekend, and they literally had to sell some of their gold to deal with an obligation, and I gave them a check for six-figure money. And let me tell you what they said. They couldn't believe how simple the numismatics work, because the other bank they went over to get their money out of, I think they took 11 grand. They took their Social Security number, and with us, all I asked for is, who do we make the check out to? Because the numismatics offer you the privacy and security of ownership.
By the way, just to make sure our audience understands, numismatic is 1933 and older. They're considered collectibles, so there's no reporting, so you have privacy. And you also are making money potentially on not only the spot price, but the rarity of the coin's antique price, so you can make and see an increase in your portfolio twice: the spot price if the gold's going up, and the numismatic antique value if the rarity is increasing and more people are wanting $20 liberties or $10 liberties numismatic, and there's not as many, and so the price on those goes up from that standpoint. Just so everybody knows, because we're always adding new people. So they came in, and you wrote them a check for six figures, and all they had to do was just say, who do you want the check to? Because you're not responsible to file their taxes, they are.
Correct. And we have no reporting, and their life is private. And people can, and other two things we should be worried about right now. one of the major things for all of you out there to worry about is when the government starts looking for money for us, because strangely enough, when rather than deal with their own inadequacies, when there's a problem, they look to tax us or take money from us. What's the biggest low-hanging fruit that the American people have? What is your lowest hanging asset that they can readily take control of and you really realistically can't stop them? It's not your bank account, it's your IRA and retirement plan. They can grab that up in a millisecond. They can freeze your ability to move it. They can freeze your ability to sell it. They can freeze your liquidity in it. They can't do that in a gold IRA, ladies and gentlemen. They can't do it because, very simply put, Ronald was created by Reagan back in the 80s to protect people from exactly what's going on right now. Okay? Exactly what's going on right now. And I guess my comment is that with that said, and with what's going on right now, you better take a hard look at the value of a gold IRA and the value of paper. Literally, because Reagan was right. He was a financial Nostradamus on this. And for people to think it's going to slow down and get better, it's not. Gold's not going to slow down. I think maybe you're not going to have maybe the big jumps that you're having right now, but it'll progressively move forward to 6,000 by year end. And I think what you have to worry about again is what's going to happen to everything else. What we talk about on Worldview is the need to protect and plan ahead, not wait till the bullet hits you, but act versus react. And everything that Brandon has done over the last 18 years that I've known him has been a constant concern for being prepared ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
Not waiting.
That's my thing. That's my thing is being prepared. That's just, I don't know. Maybe it's God-given. I don't know. I like being prepared. I don't like surprises. Maybe that's why I like and can do this day in, day out, same routine. I can hardly ever leave the house and or studio. Just don't need to. My wife doesn't understand that. But I just like the same routine over and over. So for me, it's not a big deal. And that's the thing about being prepared. I don't like surprises. I like knowing what my day is going to be like. And when I keep it simple and do what I love, there's no surprises because I'm not dealing with people on a daily basis and rubbing shoulders with a bunch of people that I don't know who may surprise me, and I may not like the surprise I get. But yes, I don't like surprises, so I prepare. Now, I want you to go back to that one question I had. When are people going to see their home values go up? Because that's a hard asset, and they want to see that go up. If you're going to have a debasement of currency, you want to have your one of your hard assets being your home go up in value. When is that going to start happening?
We've got to come. There's sort of it's a contrary type of a situation because we've had overinflated housing prices for the last 6-7 years, and that's affecting the real value of these homes. So most places, including here in Arizona, we're overinflated in values. So we can't get real values because we're not dealing in the real world.
Okay, so they're already inflated. The home prices are already
Correct.
inflated. So those are not going to go up too much more because, again, people can't afford it. A lot of them can't afford it at the current price. Interest rates aren't moving. So, but again, you're better off still. It's what, isn't it? What, can't remember who said it. But one of the guys, the guy that wrote Tom Sawyer, what was his name? Help me out here.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
That was who wrote Tom Sawyer? Who was the?
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about
the guy from Missouri. Or the whole audience is screaming at us right now. But anyway, he was it'll come to me. He said, I'm not as concerned about the return on my money as I am the return of my money. Right? I'm not as concerned about the return on my money as I am the return of my money. And that's how people should be looking at when they put into a hard asset like their house. At least you know where the money's at. You're going to at least be able to likely get what you put in it, not to mention more long term. There you go. All right. Let me give you a quick quote by Warren Buffett. One of his biggest concerns. Watch this.
And obviously, we wouldn't want to be owning anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell. And that's the big thing we worry about with the United States currency. I mean, the tendency of a government to want to debase its currency over time there's no system that beats that. You can pick dictators, you can pick representatives, you can do anything. But the people, there will be a push toward weaker currencies. And of course, that is, I mentioned very briefly in the annual report that the fiscal policy is what scares me in the United States, because it's made the way it is, and all the motivations are to doing a lot of things that can cause trouble with money. But that's not limited to the United States. It's all over the world, and some places it gets out of control regularly. As they know, they devalue at rates that are breathtaking, and that's continued. I mean, and people can study economics and you can have all kinds of arrangements, but in the end, if you've got people that control the currency, you can issue paper money, and you will, or you can engage in clipping currencies like they used to do centuries ago. Or there will always be people. It's the nature of their job. I'm not singling them out as particularly evil or anything like that. But the natural course of government is to make the currency worth less.
The natural tendency of government is to make the currency worth less.
That way they could spend more.
Yeah. They can expand the size of government, implement socialism.
Spend more. That's exactly why I think Trump likes it, because he wants to spend more in a lot of different ways. He's got to redo the grid. He's got to redo all these data centers. He's going in and spending money. There's just a lot of things going on right now that are disarming. I don't disagree. I know some of the Republicans are going after Kristi Noem. In all due respect, I think that she ran in like a paratrooper, and she should have gone in a lot gentler. But at the end of the day, we're paying the cost for that right now. My concern right now is lack of people paying attention to what's going on with their money. And I got a call from a gal today that a year ago, Brandon, watched the show that you and I had done regarding financial planners and whose money it is. And she said to us, she wanted me to tell you thank you, because a year ago you and I were on, and I said you need to realize that you're the one that wins and loses, not your brokers. It's your money. I don't make money. Your broker doesn't make money, doesn't lose money. You do. When you have to protect your family, don't worry about the person who's managing your account. Worry about yourself. And that lady took action, even though the broker insisted. Owning gold is ridiculous. We had a show about that, Brandon. They were all saying owning gold is ridiculous, terrible owning gold. Why was the country formed under the gold standard if it's so stupid? I mean, you don't even have to be educated in college to understand that. You can understand that simply. Our money was backed by gold for 200 years without issue. How stupid were people from the 1780s? They weren't. But these people warned this lady not to do it, and she did it. And had she not done it, she would have not only made the return that she made, but not only was able to secure what she wanted within her estate comfortably. Now,
let me go.
The same thing exists today. The same thing for people today who are reviewing their accounts right now. You got a chance to do something. Remember, it's your money.
All right. Let me go to a clip by Peter Schiff. Watch this from Fox Business.
And the world is now pulling the rug out from under the U.S. The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold. Central banks are buying gold to back up their currencies. They're getting rid of dollars. They're getting rid of treasuries. We are headed for a economic crisis, again, that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The biggest difference between the crisis that we're about to have and the one we had back then is this one is all in America. It's not going to be exported to the rest of the world. It's not a global financial crisis. It's an American financial crisis.
All right, by the way, do a slide, half Peter, half me on that screen there, Logan. I guess Peter and I got the same memo today to wear yellow ties. So I guess we both got that memo today. So there you go.
I think yours is a nicer tie.
Well, thank you. So there you go. All right. One more clip here. I think one more. Let's see here. Okay, it's not a clip. Maybe you can explain this. Here we go. This guy says the impossible. See if you agree with this. This guy says the impossible just happened. The probability of what is happening is near zero. 3 Six Sigma events occurred in 1 week. Bonds, silver, gold. We're currently living through a statistical impossibility. Let me explain. Last Tuesday, Japanese 30-year debt recorded what's called a 6 Sigma session. 2 days ago, silver did even better. It was 5 Sigma on the rally, then reached 6 Sigma on the drop in a singular session. Gold right now is up 23% in less than a month. We're getting very close to a 6 Sigma event. That's 3 Sigma events in 1 week. To explain quickly, in finance, we measure price moves around an average using the standard deviation, which we call sigma. Okay? 1 Sigma, mundane. 2 Sigma, common. 3 Sigma becomes rare. 4 Sigma, exceptional. 5 Sigma, extremely rare. 6 Sigma, supposed to occur once in 500 million. Here are the 6 Sigma type episodes we saw previously. The October 87 crash, 22% drop in one session. March 2020 COVID crash. The Swiss francs surge in 2015. And the WTI oil turning negative in April 2020. But we've never had 3 events occur in 1 week. Do you see the point? A 6 Sigma event is almost never triggered by a simple macro headline. It almost always comes from the market structure, leverage, positions that are too concentrated, margin calls, collateral problems, and forced selling or buying. That's important to understand because we're talking about internal strains in the system's mechanics. As you know, the Japanese bond market sits at the heart of the global financial system. And I won't go back over the whole topic, but a 6 Sigma move is a market that enormous doesn't go unnoticed. Seeing a 6 Sigma move in silver a few days later gives one a lot to think about. And now gold, that's absolutely insane. Why are we seeing extreme statistical events only days apart in such different markets? When a pillar of global funding becomes unstable, leverage tends to contract. And 2 things happen at the same time. Forced selling in certain assets and forced buying of protection in others. Historically, precious metals are often among the beneficiaries. Long-term rates say something about the credibility of states. That is, their ability to honor future debts without resorting massively to inflation. Precious metals say something about the credibility of the currency itself. And with both become unstable at the same time, we're looking at a challenge to the monetary framework. Pretty long thing here, but do you agree with this, what he's saying?
Yeah. I think that the infrastructure that we have built is a house of cards. And that's why, it's so frustrating when we said at the beginning of the year, I listened at the beginning of the year and everything's wonderful. It's all wonderful. Everything's great. Wonderful.
Well, President Trump just tweeted that today, that the stock market's at historic highs. America's back.
Well, they all got to make a living. The stock market's not controlled by individual outcry that kept it honest. It's controlled by computers. So it's sort of like pick a number, and we'll make it happen today. And it seems like every time there's any type of real financial change, they seem to recover. And in 2008, they got caught up in all their lies and couldn't do it. And the problem is that right now, there's so much, the old story of the little boy putting his finger in the dike to stop the water. Well, they've got their fingers, their toes, and their nose. There's nothing left right now. If that water keeps pushing up against it, something's going to break. You can't continue to exist this way.
So how long do you think before we have a dollar collapse, as Peter Schiff was just talking?
Well, I don't think First of all, I don't agree with Peter's overreacting in some respect. I think the dollar has been collapsing since they went off the gold standard in 1971, Ray. And at the end of the day, I think that it's been a gradual metamorphosis. I think right now, that's why Trump will turn around as the dollar collapses and says, we need to bring in the digital currencies. And when
so you believe this is all orchestrated?
I think it is. I think it'll be part of the digital currencies. They will debase and devalue the dollar at that time. And they'll say to you, you had 100 grand in the bank, you now have 80, and that 20,000 will be absorbed. And if the Democrats get into office or take control.
So that's a bailout then. So if you have 100 grand in the bank, you now only have 80, and we're switching that 80 to digital.
Correct. And then you could also have a situation happen where, again,
which, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it just comes to my mind before I forget. That means that 20,000 they took, when you add that with all of their deposits, that's what helps to make the banksters more whole, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And the banks.
So instead of the feds bailing them out, we bail them out with a haircut on our deposits. So then take your 100,000 in the bank becomes 80, 20 goes to the bankers and then the 80 will go into digits.
That's what they did in 33. And I mean, realistically, that will lead to Trump's control of the dollar, because the dollar will be the digital dollar, or they'll be called the staple dollar, whatever they want to call it. But that dollar will no longer, you don't need a wallet. It's coming. You know, if somebody told you in the midst of going to Blockbuster Video on a Saturday night and getting in line with the other 600 people to grab some movie that just came out, that, hey, guess what? 3 years from now, Blockbuster is going to go broke, you would have told them they're nuts. Guess what? Is there any Blockbuster anymore?
Only one.
No.
Only one.
Really? There is one? Where is it?
I read an article years ago. There's one. There's one, and they're deliberately keeping that one open. Now, maybe they've closed since I read the article, but they had one because people like the nostalgia of it. I'm like, all right, whatever. All right, let's go to one clip because your buddy Jerome Powell has just asked about gold. Then we got to go. Here we go.
Significant price increases we've seen for precious metals.
Don't take much message macroeconomically. The argument can be made that we're losing credibility or something. It's simply not the case. If you look at where inflation expectations are, our credibility is right where it needs to be. So we look at those things. We don't get spun up over particular asset price changes, although we do monitor them, of course.
Don't pay attention to it while central banks are buying up gold in the last few years at the highest rate they've ever done.
Correct.
So in other words, don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, right. He is about as smart as my squirrels in front of my house. I mean, you're sitting here and talking about the gold market and trying to displace its importance whatsoever, which is the wrong answer. The answer should have been that gold is a stabilizing issue in the United States government. He should have said something different than he did. And instead, he's trying to say the normal, marching orders. Everything is okay.
Okay, here we go. Bloomberg, Citigroup, I guess, that's who that is. Yep, Citigroup, sees silver surging to $150 as China buying still has legs. All right. So before we let you go, any new updates on your numbers, where we're going here in 2026?
6,000, 6,200, depending on what happens in April and May, who he brings into the Federal Reserve, and also what happens in Iran. The reason being is stabilization of Iran might have initial drawback in the market, our market, gold initially, but it'll be a temporary thing. So I still think 6,200 year end, and I think silver 175 to 200. It'll have a issue crossing the $200 threshold, but it will do it in 2028, 27. But I keep saying to people,
wait a minute, 27? Will it be 27 or 28? It goes over 200.
It'll go over 227, but gold will be 7,027, 7,500. Coming into the last year of Trump's administration, I believe gold will end up between 8,000 and 8,500. I know Jim Rickards is talking 10 grand. It really is dependent on a lot of other factors, but gold wins no matter what.
Okay, let me ask you
Gold
this.
is money again.
They keep saying that
not a commodity.
They keep saying gold is money, not a commodity. They keep saying that the new system is going to be based on gold.
It already is.
But is there enough gold in the world to base the system on gold?
No, that's why the central banks are all buying percentages of gold. If you can have 20, 30% of your central bank holdings in gold or 10% or whatever, at least it shows stability to your digital currency. Okay. That's why the cryptocurrency market just earlier this week started talking about crypto should have some connection to gold. Well, in all due respect, Mr. Bitcoin, why'd you make it look like a gold coin? I mean, you did that for a reason.
Right.
I mean, it could have been a black coin. You made it look like a gold coin. They're doing it because they want some stabilization.
So 20% might be backed by gold. What will the rest be backed by?
Nothing. The stabilization will be backed on the economy. But here's the deal. The big play that's going to happen 2028, ladies and gentlemen. Besant is a huge gold guy. Scott Besant is a huge gold guy. He loves gold. He's made it perfectly clear he wants to reprice the U.S. Americans' gold holdings. Right now, he claims there's 251 million ounces of gold in Fort Knox. He hasn't certified it yet, but he says that's what's there. It's 49 million light. If he reprices gold to the spot price of the gold market, that asset goes from $1 trillion to maybe 12 trillion. And all of a sudden that goes against debt. And all of a sudden the United States of America is back in the gold business because they have a vested interest economically in the price of gold. And mark my words, you will see that happening. I'm sticking myself out here, but Besant will not leave office without revaluing gold. And Trump is not against it. They just haven't done it yet. It's an arrow in their quiver. What will that do to you in the gold market for the people who are in it? It'll give you stability. You don't have to worry about any big drops because the U.S. is right in there with us.
There you go. All right, get your free packet of information, no obligation, worldviewgold.com or 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072. As gold goes to $5,416, silver around $116 an ounce. Huge move. Dollar's going down. Gold and silver is going up because dollar is going down. Trump wants to debase the dollar. And we've explained why with exports and manufacturing. But of course, what you have to try to do, folks, is preserve your wealth. I mean, if someone had told you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that the average SUV in America would cost over $100,000 brand new, if someone had told you that 30 years ago, my wife and I paid $120,000 for our first townhome in 1996. 1996, $120,000 for our first one-level townhome. And if someone had said, oh, by the way, in 2026, that's 30 years exactly, right? 1996 to 2026. And 30 years, if you want to go buy a brand new SUV, you'll be paying over 100 grand. I would have said, you're nuts. You're crazy. Even though I was still into the reading about Larry Burkett's books and all that, I would have had a hard time wrapping my mind around, you're telling me I'm buying a one-level townhome for 120, but by 30 years from now, brand new, in fact, look it up. Someone tell me, let's just look it up real quick. Let's just go with like a Lincoln Navigator. Brand new, let's see what a 2026 Lincoln Navigator costs. Just for giggles. All right, let me just look it up. Logan, you seeing it? Let's see. Are you looking, Michael, or am I the only one looking? All right, I got the price. Right now, according to this website, Lincoln Navigator is priced between $82,000 of 2026, $82,000 and $125,000. Okay, so if you want the black label trim, and all the bells and whistles, you're at $125,000. So boom, That's a pretty good analogy off the top of my head, to be honest. A townhome 30 years ago, one level, 120, 30 years from then. Now, if you want an SUV Lincoln Navigator, the top end, you're $125,000. I would have had a hard time wrapping my mind around that. Yet that's where we're at. That's dollar debasement. Closing comment?
Only closing comment I can make, it's time to take action. If you need to contact us, we are getting back to everybody, all of our people. We're trying to make sure we can help the people who are trying to further protect themselves as best as possible, as quickly as possible. We have a huge inventory, and we are able to supply whatever's necessary.
So you're not selling something you don't have.
Yeah, we only sell everything we have, we ship out of here. There's not one client from Worldview or anywhere else that doesn't see a shipping label from Swiss America's building here in Phoenix, Arizona.
So you're not going to buy it and then wait 6 months to get it, 3 months to get it?
Absolutely
not. You guys don't play that game.
Immediately.
You don't play that game.
That's drop shipping. That's called drop shipping. We don't do it. Everything we sell is inspected and weighed under camera before it leaves this place. But the big thing is for all of you is to act. Get in touch with us. If you have IRAs, pay attention to that, because that is the low-hanging fruit. Make sure you pay attention to that, because before you can't. And
in other words, they're going to put in capital controls and you won't be able to move your money around out of your IRA, right?
They already started with 401ks. You used to be able to move a 401k as many times as you want during any given year. Now you can only move it once. What comes before one? None. Okay, simple math.
Okay, I don't give financial advice or financial opinion. Do your own due diligence. I think that starts by going to worldviewgold.com or 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072. I spent some time today putting together articles and all of these clips, and I told you this was going to be a bang-up segment tonight, and I think we delivered.
I really do. I think we're here to help, and I think people should appreciate every day, and the comments I get of the people who really appreciate the fact of us just giving them the facts and telling them the truth and helping them to plan, not just to tell them to buy and make money, try to plan and protect. And I think that's so important. And we take pleasure here with my team here at Swiss America, Chris and myself and Dean. We take pleasure in the fact of our people thanking us not just for making money, but helping to secure their estate.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Worldviewgold.com, Michael Weiner, 877-864-1072. Thank you, Michael.
Have a good night.
You too, my friends. And let me say to you, my friends, if you appreciate, some of you have been watching us for so many years that we have been trying to bring education. And some of you have done very, very well, as Michael's told me. He said some of these guys that listen to you and gals, they have done very well after learning some of these things and following some of the opinion, because I don't give financial advice that you've given. Let me remind you, we're brought to you by you. So if you have done well by watching and getting educated from our program, whether economically or spiritually, don't forget about us when it comes to your estate planning. Would you please remember us in your estate planning? Talk to your attorney that does your estate planning. And we've got now over a dozen families that we know of that have put us in their estate planning. So when the Lord calls them home and their estate is settled, they have put our foundation in there to help us keep going. And some of you have done really well, maybe in part because you've watched our broadcast. So that'd be a great way to push on some of that estate planning to the foundation, so the foundation can go on and help other people, not only, of course, financially, but most spiritually. So if you appreciate what we're doing, think about our foundation as a way to give. If you want to reach out to Melissa at that number, 901-825-0652, she'll give you our official mailing address, our EIN number as a foundation, so you can give that to your attorney, estate planner, and remembering our foundation in your estate plans. And that can be everything from land to houses to stocks or bonds or whatever it is. Feel free to remember us in your estate planning. We also have some folks that donate stock. And so we have I don't personally get involved in stocks. I don't like stocks personally, but some of you do, and you've done very well in the stock market. And some of you have donated and donate regularly to our foundation once a year with stock. So you can do that same thing as well. Just contact Melissa by text or phone. She'll provide you with everything you need related to the account that allows you to set up by the foundation, that allows you to make a contribution to the foundation of even stock. So 901-825-0652, 901-825-0652. All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. Remember to go to worldview2.com/sponsors. Roll the music, guys. Let's call it a night. Get your water filters. Don't be eating candy that has arsenic in it, and don't be drinking water that has arsenic or pesticides or somebody's pharmaceuticals. Go ahead and get your worldviewwater.net filter. I have one for the sink. It's the water I drink. We make our coffee with, the water Dolly drinks. I have one in my shower. Worldviewwater.net. Check out all our sponsors there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Get great products. With each purchase, you're helping support us and keep us on the air. May God save America. Take care.
Work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House. And
welcome. Glad you're with us. We're going to be joined by Aaron out of Israel as we get an update. President Trump says there is an armada of military power that has now arrived, along with, I guess, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and we may be seeing a strike on Iran soon. We also have news. Tucker Carlson thinks this group, not Muslims, is responsible for jihad against the U.S. What is the latest, he's saying? Big news in Israel as the IDF recovers final hostage after covert operations in northern Gaza. We'll talk about that. Let's see. Trump warns Iran, time is running out. Time is running out. Israel building the foundation of a sovereign AI system. Did you guys know that Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly said that Israel is prepared to be on their own, go on their own? And I think he said it while he was at Mar-a-Lago. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu raised eyebrows recently when he spoke to The Economist